Well, some Democrats are calling for new leadership in the wake of President-elect Trump and Republicans wins this election. But Vice President Harris does not appear ready to step aside. Some Republicans are thrilled. According to Politico, quote, Harris is telling her advisors and allies to keep her political options open. She could run again for president or California governor. But as the VP tries to figure out her next steps, fellow Democrats are trying to identify just where they missed the mark this election.
One area where we kind of lost ourselves was the border. It can't be controversial for our party to be pro-immigration, but we need a secure border. And when we ask or demand people to not believe what they see and see those kind of numbers that's not a problem, it's like, well, then you lose about that 100%.
The Democrats, since NAFTA, workers have drifted away from the Democratic Party. I think we've drifted away as a party.
I do think the Democratic Party has to recognize the challenge we have, which is for too many millions of battleground voters, working people, they don't think we represent them. Look, I think the entire Democratic Party bears a responsibility, myself included, and the former president.
Paul, I think those are all very fair points. You'll never hear me say that about Adam Schiff, but I'll say that today. But is there going to be this true postmortem, this existential crisis analysis among Democrats?
No. And here's why I believe that they are not capable of doing this, because that party has ideologically been captured by the campus elites, and they became a party of boutique issues that only make sense on the campuses. The problem for them is that these sort of university elites that control the narrative of the people who end up in most of media. And consequently, it's going to be very, very hard for them to walk away from that messaging to try to come back to a place where the Republicans already are. They have to occupy a space now where Trumpism sits. You know, for years we've been hearing there needs to be a third party, needs to be a third party. The Republicans made themselves the third party. And so as a result, it's going to be tough for them to sort of segue that way. One thing real quick, but we do have to recognize that Trumpism can't be based upon only Donald Trump, because he's maybe got 2, at most 4 years. You need a successor. It can't be about the messenger. It has to be about the message. He has to concretize, institutionalize some of the stuff that he's talked about that has tracked the Republicans into the middle. The way you do that is statutes. You got to put these things in law. It can't be on the strength of personality. And so what I'd like to see is some sort of a recognition among this class of professional wrestlers coming in that they realize we got to lock this stuff in place. Yeah. Otherwise, it goes away with Donald Trump. We can't afford that.
Without a doubt. And on the conversation of messenger and message, I think that's an appropriate conversation for Democrats, too. James Carville, who was very bullish on Kamala winning, obviously didn't happen. He had something to say about where Democrats go from here. He said, showcase the talent we have. I would have a mini convention in 2026. I would invite people to someplace convenient, invite some of the staggering talent to give speeches to show people, let people see, let ideas permeate, but see who can carry the message of the party. Kennedy, I bring this up because I don't think, look, Wes Moore, talented communicator. Josh Shapiro, talented communicator. I don't think a new communicator is enough. They need to shift this message. This was a wipeout. Donald Trump won the popular vote.
They have to stop listening to James Carville for advice. You know, he's great when he's being Cassandra and he's giving negative analysis on the Democrat Party because he's one of the few people who is actually telling the truth. But it's not just the messenger. And that's the problem that they have. It's these ideas. It's the fact that she was asked repeatedly, and it's not just her. I mean, it was everyone around her from the Biden camp and the Obama camp giving her horrible advice. Because, you know, how many whacks at the piñata did she have when she was asked, what would you do differently? And she couldn't name anything. I mean, not only was it preposterous and incompetent, it's also insulting to voters who don't have any money. They don't have any disposable income at all whatsoever. But what he's talking about, the mini primary, that's what they wanted to do when Biden resigned. But instead, you know, Biden stepped out in front of it, stepped in it, and named her as a de facto nominee. So they were stuck with her. So the party obviously has warring factions. They're not going to be able to get together anytime soon. And I agree with Paul on that it's going to take a lot more than, you know, the moderate pearl clutching they're doing right now to have a meaningful change.
Emily, there are 6 words that Kamala has been communicating to allies on the phone from Hawaii, and it is, I am staying in the fight. Okay, she loves the word fight, but staying in the fight, I mean, you lost. I think a lot of Republicans would say, yeah, we hope you're the nominee because you lost and you'll probably lose again.
Right. Look, the puppet can say what it wants. She's essentially saying, OK, I'm the empty vessel. Use me. Put me where you want. She was always only a prop. I agree wholeheartedly. The Democratic Party right now is an abscess. It is a festering abscess. And what needs to happen if they want to have any type of health, or to Carville's point, if they actually to Adam Schiff's point, if they want to feel represented in any way, there needs to be a serious audit where the crust is thrown off, where the Pelosi's and the Schiffs are discarded, and those on campus who actually aren't the product of the sort of mechanized, baked-in communist professorial academic elite, but really actually those of thought, connect with the party and say, here's how we move forward. Here's how we articulate intelligently and thoughtfully our democratic values, whatever that means, which, by the way, used to just be big government, right? So what does that look like here exactly in these programs? And then have that flourish. But that's not happening anytime soon, because they're just going to keep trotting out Gavin Newsom and really old people and telling us that they know better than you.
Cheryl, I'm going to call myself a political psychopath because we are 3 years out from knowing who the Democrat nominee is, and those of us psychopaths are already thinking about it.
You're a great psychopath.
I'm a great
You're my
psychopath.
favorites.
But Kamala does lead the early polls, again, psychotically looking at them. But so did Hillary, and then she fell when others came on the scene.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, Brian Williams said it best to Seth Meyers. He said, it is insulting when you tell the working class of America that they're paying $40 for a dozen, bounty rolls, and, but the rich can afford it, but they can't. It's insulting to say that there's nothing wrong with the border.
Yep.
They insulted the working class of this country, and the working class voted for Donald Trump, full stop. And really quick, the Journal actually had a great point about what their problem is, and it was Bidenomics. And it says the architects of Bidenomics are in denial. They're still in denial about this. They say the argument, what the Biden administration did worked fine, and if you didn't like it, well, then Trump was going to be worse. Yeah, well, the American people said that's absolutely not correct, and they said, the Latinos in Arizona said, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, I can't afford it, and I'm not voting for business as usual.
Yeah, they also called half the country garbage. And the response was people chanting at Fox and Friends diners, I am garbage. I love it.
Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.